call this cult leader the Kim Jong-un of the Philippines. And he doesn't only look like Kim Jong-un, he dresses like him, he talks like him, he walks like him, and he even acts like him in front of thousands of his followers. And just like Kim Jong-un's statue in North Korea, this Filipino cult leader has his very own. And he's not just copying Kim Jong-un's appearance, he's also copying the evil acts that the North Korean leader is allegedly doing to his own people. The name of this cult in the Philippines is Socorro Bayanihan Services Incorporated. And it became famous when this shocking video of the cult leader was shown on national television. He's shown crying in agony as if something is seriously wrong. So what happened? Well, it's because some of his followers escaped and exposed him for doing disturbing things to his followers, like rape, child labor, forced military training, and child marriages. Now he's under investigation and he's up against these strong testimonies from survivors like this one.
Sige kung ingon-ingon na dyan nga. Sige, sugot na diha kay diskay ingon na nang kuan kay
And now, for the first time ever, these survivors are ready to fight and to use the evidence to share their stories. Like in this leaked video where you can see minors doing intense military training in the mud instead of studying. Even little kids as young as 6 years old weren't spared. You can see them digging soil using their tiny little bodies. And the most disturbing accusation this cult leader will face has to do with underage children. He has allegedly pressured underage kids to engage in intimate relationships with older men. But these alarming allegations are just the tip of the iceberg, because as the investigation went deeper, the more people were convinced that he is the Filipino version of Kim Jong-un. So what exactly did he do to earn the title of the Kim Jong-un of the Philippines? Well, it started when these disturbing videos were leaked, triggering an investigation into the cult. And it was not a normal trial, because it was conducted by the highest ranking government officials of the Philippines, because they discovered that 200 kids already died in this cult. And what the government officials found even more alarming was this.
Higit sa 1,000 kabataan na nasa kamay ng isang mapanlinlang, malupit at mapang-abusong kulto.
But if this abuse has been happening for so long, why are they only getting exposed now? Turns out, the cult is located on a secluded mountain with 48 guard towers and their very own army. So escaping the place is almost impossible. But with the help of a miracle, these victims successfully escaped, and they're now ready to expose the hell they experienced in the hands of this self-proclaimed god. In this video, I'm gonna show you the side of this cult that they don't want you to see. And everything I'm about to show you was witnessed by real people. Real victims with one goal in mind: to put this cult leader behind bars. In this modern world where even news is easily faked, I'll dive deep to find out just how much of these disturbing allegations about the cult are true. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna ask you this: do you believe me now? It was after a deadly earthquake in the Philippines when this man suddenly appeared and announced that he's the savior of the human race. J. Renz Kilario, aka Senor Aguila, declared that the world is about to end. And the only way to survive is through him, because he allegedly claims that he is God. He instructed the people to follow him to a safe place on top of a mountain. And 5,000 people packed up everything they owned and followed him here, to the point that the municipality they left became a ghost town. But how did a 17-year-old boy convinced thousands of people to follow him to the middle of nowhere?
Kasi daw may aftershock at may tsunami na mangyayari. Kapag hindi kami sasama, lahat kami pupunta sa impyerno.
Senor Aguila promised them a ticket to heaven. That's why people believed him, including professionals, former government officials, and even police officers. They traded their lives just to follow this self-proclaimed savior. Senor Aguila created a paradise on top of a mountain that was completely secluded from the rest of the world. They call it Sitio Kapihan, and it looks like heaven on earth because everything the people need to live is there. All their houses are beautiful, made out of wood, they have their own market, and they even have their own radio station. They even have a media production team with professional grade equipment who cover their daily lives. In this video, you can see them smiling, doing normal day-to-day tasks, and they look happy. But it turns out, the activities they captured on camera were mostly only for propaganda, and things weren't as perfect as they seemed on the mountain. And while on the outside, this village looked beautiful and peaceful, if you looked inside, you would find they're hiding a dark secret. Because when his followers entered Sitio Capihan, they realized that he was more of a dictator than a god. The heaven that he promised them quickly transformed into hell, because Senor Aguila was in control of everything: when to sleep, when to wake up, what to eat, and even what they look like, because there is only one haircut allowed for men and one haircut allowed for women. Everything that his followers did was decided for them by Senor Aguila. Sounds familiar? It's the same in North Korea. But what's more crazy is that Senor Aguila chooses his followers husbands and wives. Their lives were in the hands of Senor Aguila, and not everyone was happy about it. So one day, this group of followers had enough and decided to escape in the middle of the night. They snuck through the guards and the high fences, and by some sort of miracle, they escaped without ever being seen. And when they got back to their village, they had a lot to say about Senor Aguila. The survivors were afraid of the punishment they would face if Senor Aguila caught them, so they went straight to the authorities to seek protection. And there they exposed the disturbing things they experienced in the cult. Their stories were so alarming that the high-ranking officials of the Philippines directly investigated the case. Meanwhile, in Sitio Capihan, when they received the formal notification of investigation, Senor Aguila, who always looks confident and proud, suddenly cried, had a hard time breathing, and then he passed out. All this was happening while his followers rallied behind him, saying he was wrongly accused. Senor Aguila was forced to go to Manila for the investigation, and the victims' testimonies shocked the Philippines because the survivors revealed how they were forced to marry girls as young as 12 years old. The wedding ceremonies were allegedly led by Senor Aguila himself. One victim even described that he was picking their partners using eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Even members who were already married before joining the cult were forced to marry another member. And if this isn't the worst yet, Senor Aguila was allegedly forcing the guys to rape their underage wives.
Pinapatawag kami ni Senor Aguila. Sinabihan po ako na pwede mo na yang galawin, rape mo na yan kasi asawa mo na yan eh. Wala siyang magagawa kahit anong gawin niya.
And if this sounds horrifying, wait until you hear this. Because this victim even confessed that Senor Aguila asked her to have sex with him.
Sige kung ingon na dyan nga. Sige, subot na diha kay biskay ingon na ng kuwan kay Ginoo na nang ingon nimo.
One survivor even revealed that every single night, different girls went to Senor Aguila's room for pleasure. But during the investigation, this was his only response.
Hindi po yan totoo, sir. Hindi yan totoo, Your Honor.
But this is only the beginning, because when the investigation got deeper, they found out that the members were being deprived of basic human needs. In this cult, they are not allowed to have any communication from the outside world, including talking to their relatives, attending school, and even seeking medical attention. Because the survivors said that Senor Aguila thinks that people outside are like poison. And because of their disconnection from the world, most of these kids stop studying. And that's why most of the kids here don't know how to read or write. And what you're about to hear next is probably one of the worst things you'll hear about this cult. During the investigation, it was discovered that they have an unregistered cemetery where they bury their dead members. And these deaths are allegedly caused by this.
Bakit gusto mong mamatay yung tatay ko? Bakit ayaw mong i-admit yung father ko? Gusto ko bang mabuhay yung ama ko, ma'am?
According to this survivor, Senor Aguila didn't allow them to bring his father to the hospital to get medical treatment. And because of this, his father died. But again, Senor Aguila denies everything.
Napakasinungaling nila, hindi sila nagbigay kahit piso man lang.
The next thing you'll hear will make you believe that this cult was created just to scam people for their money. Because allegedly, they were told by Senor Aguila that having money is a sin. Remember in the beginning where Senor Aguila told his followers that the world is about to end? He was so convincing that his followers sold their homes and gave all of their money to Senor Aguila. But this doesn't end here, because Senor Aguila allegedly collected pension money from all the senior citizens. And to make sure it didn't sound like a scam, he called it a donation. So how were these people surviving without money? They ate whatever was available and whatever was allocated to them, to the point that some of them felt like beggars. So if their alleged living conditions were so bad, then how come nobody ever resisted? Most of them were afraid of him, so they continued to follow him. Because remember, Senor Aguila allegedly had his own private army that you can see here in these photos. And no one knows how far they are willing to go to punish members that resist. But now that the survivors are free and under the protection of the government, they only want one thing: to put Senor Aguila behind bars. So will he finally pay for his crimes? Well, during the investigation, Senor Aguila only answered the same line over and over again.
Hindi yan totoo, Your Honor.
The high-ranking high-ranking officials felt that he would never admit his sins. But the evidence and testimonies of the survivors is so strong that the evidence can't just be ignored. So authorities instantly arrested him.
You have the right to remain silent.
And he was charged with human trafficking, child abuse, and for allowing child marriages. And now, Senior Aguila is in jail along with his 12 leading officers, and their cult is left without a leader. And while Senior Aguila was in jail, he announced this to his followers.
May nagsabing ang bagong propaganda o di umanong brainwashing na pinaiikot ngayon ng SBSI leaders dun sa kapihan ay okay lang daw kahit hindi na muna makauwi sa kanila si Senyor Aguila dahil ang diwa daw ng Senyor Aguila ay lumipat na sa ibang tao.
But according to official reports, almost half of his followers, allegedly 2,000 out of 5,000 members, have already left the cult and stopped believing in the idea that Senior Aguila is a god. For now, the investigation is still ongoing, and all we can hope for is that the truth will come out and the victims will get the justice they deserve. So after everything I've shown you about the Kim Jong-un of the Philippines, do you believe me now?